You're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
Let's bring in Professor Alan Dershowitz. Professor Dershowitz, you know, we're talking about where are these different groups. And when I think about the other one I was just thinking about, we also have Congressman Mike Waltz with us, is where were the women's groups? Some of them finally made a comment like many months later after October 7th. It's like they are so politically motivated.
And where are the gay groups? And where are the groups that's supposed to support religious freedom? They're on Hamas's side. We're seeing this all over the place. And if Hamas remains in power, either in the Gaza Strip or as it's growing in importance in the West Bank, that will mean that what's happened to the women of Afghanistan will happen increasingly to the women who are Palestinians. And, you know, the best thing that could happen to the Palestinians would be for Hamas to be wiped out and for a state to be established that's based on the civil liberties that exist in Israel. I mean, Arabs who live in Israel.
But Professor, I just want to say one more thing.
Yes,
I'm not going to defend the Palestinians, but I'm going to defend something. Okay, I don't know what I'm defending, but I'm going to tell you how I feel. If it wasn't for for Iran, and nobody's saying Iran, nobody's out there saying it's Iran, but it is Iran. Iran has so much money that they paid the Hamases. They paid the Hamases to go in and slaughter those few thousand Israelis. They paid them. So, and the Hamas, right. They took the money because they wanted the money for their families, and they were willing to die for the rest of their families. So This is one big mess.
Nothing happens in the Middle East without Iran's not only approval, but financial and military support. And so every death in Gaza, and we all cry over children's deaths and innocent people's deaths, every one of those deaths is the fault of Iran. Through its
and it's on President Biden's shoulders, because it would not have happened if President Biden didn't do what he did in Afghanistan.
And let me take it one step further, you guys, because last night on that interview, Kamala Harris stood by Biden. She stood by the Biden record. And so she, as Ed Cox just brought up, she was the last one in the room and she defended it. So she owns that too also, Professor.
Right.
I agree with you, and she's trying to have it both ways. She's trying to say, I was the last one in the room. I'm a decision maker. I make important decisions, but don't blame me for them. You know, we're going to go in a different direction. We have a different way of approaching things. No, I think you have to imagine that if she's elected, she will follow the Biden and the Obama policies, which have been disastrous from the point of view of women's rights and of gay rights and of the rights of other minorities, because it has given so much power to Islamic radicals who have no tolerance for any individual liberty of this kind.
By the way, she did not rule out, and Ed, we were talking about this earlier. She was asked, would you push for an embargo, a ban of certain weapons to Israel? And she did not answer that, Professor Dershowitz. What does that say to you?
She did not. She has said previously that she would not support an arms embargo. But remember, our nearest neighbor in Canada is supporting an arms embargo. And the British government may well move in that direction. And so America would be the last country standing to allow Israel to prevent the genocidal wishes of Hamas. Israel has to have the right to defend itself, and an arms embargo would deny Israel the right to defend itself or would push it toward having to use nuclear weapons. And that would be a disaster, too. The last thing Israel wants to do is use nuclear weapons. But you think Israel is going to commit politicide? You think they're going to just wrap up and say no, or we'll be defeated because we can't get weapons from the United States or spare parts from the United States? So, it would be cataclysmic if the United States ever engaged in an arms
Meanwhile, the leadership of Iran is scared stiff that they got the same bomb they had for the Hamas guy in their in the bedroom of the four mullahs.
Yeah, well, I would hope they did. That would be great news for the world if they could use it against Sinwar, if they could use it against the mullahs, if they can. Look, I have a friend in Canada who was the former Minister of Justice. He can't leave his house today. He, like Mike Pompeo, have a fatwa out on them. And that's done by Iran. Iran has a fatwa on the former Secretary of State of the United States by Iran. And he can't go anywhere without being guarded. And what are we doing about it? We're giving more money to Iran.
Right. It's insane. Before we let you go, Professor Dershowitz, real quick, your reaction on the fact that President Trump is asking now a federal court to take over the Alvin Bragg case and also trying to delay, that's the New York case.
Well, I don't think it's going to succeed having the federal court take over an ongoing criminal case. But this ongoing criminal case is horrible. There's no case. You know, I've been teaching criminal law for 60 years, and I still don't understand what the crime is that Donald Trump has been convicted of. But, you know, people say he's been convicted, a jury of his peers, a jury of people who voted against him and would love to see him in jail. So I don't think the federal court's going to take over the case, but I hope the American public understands that there is no case whatsoever against Donald Trump in New York. It's not a case at all. It's a fake.
Yeah, especially when Congress is investigating the judge's daughter, and there's a conflict of interest there, and the judge is not acknowledging the conflict of interest.
But there's no case. I mean, there's just no crime. We can't figure out what it is. It was a misdemeanor. It's elapsed in the statute of limitations. Now it magically gets changed to a felony by a multiple choice jury verdict. It's absurd. I mean, in 60 years of practicing and teaching criminal law, I've never seen a criminal case like this. Never.
Yeah,
it is
in
American history.
It is absurd.
Professor Dershowitz, any last words before we give you the night off?
Yeah, happy Labor Day to everybody. Let everybody have a safe.
By the way, there's no Labor Day parades. I want to talk about it on behalf of the unions. Okay. There's no Labor Day parades this weekend. They didn't want to ruin their Labor Day weekend.
Okay, so
I think it's next weekend.
Let me tell you something that will ruin your day. So you know that your motto is truth, justice, and the American way, and
yes.
It comes from my hero as a kid, Superman. Do you know that Superman has recently sold out and given up his American citizenship?
Oh, my
God. Wait a minute. How did this happen?
Read about it. He
must
went in front of the United Nations. He went in front of the United. He must have been hit by kryptonite.
But wait. Was it Clark Kent or was it Superman who gave up the?
Superman. It was Superman who gave up his American citizenship. Check it out. Schuster and Siegel, the guys who invented Superman, would be turning over in their grave. But the woke people who have taken over comics now have Superman being a citizen of the world rather than a citizen of the United States.
Oh, that is not truth, justice, and the American way. Wow.
Not truth or justice. Forget about the American way. It's not truth or justice. So I'm boycotting Superman. I have a Superman shirt, but I'm not wearing it anymore.
All right.
Oh, thank you, Professor Dershowitz. Thank you for that important update. We appreciate it. Great to have you. Thank you.